Thank you, Sylvia. Good morning, everybody. It's Getaway Friday. And as Sylvia said, we're going to have a much shorter session than before. Most of the stuff, maybe for today's, maybe some refresher. You might know some of those stuff we're going to go into, and then we'll go into type 5 and type 3s, and maybe then go through a little bit document custodian transfer process. So it's not going to be a long session today, but hope everybody's enjoying their Friday and looking forward to the weekend. When I say weekend, most of the time I always say not work, because I know sometimes we do end up doing our work on weekends other than going out and enjoying ourselves. So I hope we'll make the best of this weekend and do something personal, not anything to do with how we get our paycheck. So working, next slide, please, Maribel. Good morning, James and Maribel and everybody. Yes, it's Wade Gale again in that same sweater. And I seem like I wear the same sweater for all three performances. Presentation, that's kind of bad, but we'll take care of that in the next session. Working with James and also Maribel. So James will be looking at the chat, make sure there's nothing that was missed. A question came in and we didn't see it, so we can try and address those questions as they go along. Maribel will help moving along the presentation and anything that I think she might think I missed, she might also interject if she wants to. Next slide. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about some of the multifamily changes and conversions. We're going to do document custodian transfer requests, and then we're going to look at resources. So most of the slides that it's going to be are things that you might have already known, but so we'll be just reinforcing some of them. And I notice we have Jenny Mae on the line. So while we're going through these slides, Jenny Mae, account executive, if you want to interject, feel free to come in and add your 2 cents to a particular slide if you think just giving some more color will help the users. We'll also appreciate that. Next slide. So let's talk about some of the multifamily changes and conversions. Next slide. We're going to look at the multifamily conversion types, the mortgage modification, the mortgage increase/decrease. Okay, conversions. A conversion loan pool will convert to the permanent loan, the project loan pool, upon completion of the construction period and when the final construction loan draw is to be issued/delivered. And of course, everybody should know there are 2 types of multifamily conversion. There are 2 types of multifamily conversion. There's a conventional method, and then there's the modernized method. And note, all construction loan pools must convert to project loans. Those should be PN. So there are 2 types of multifamily conversions. You have the conventional and you have the modernized method. Next slide, Maribel. Thank you. Type 3 conversion, that's the conventional method. So who knows, I might be giving you some hits for some of the poll questions that we're coming up with. Type 3 conversion is the conventional method. What is a type 3 conversion? A type 3 conversion is the submission of the PN with the manual return of the CLS position with issuance of the permanent loan security. That's the position through the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. However, whoever holds or owned all the CLCs must return the position to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for cancellation so the project loan position can be issued and delivered. And I'm sure this is for most of our multifamily users. This might just be refreshers because you already know this. So we just want to make sure it's there on paper. And if any new people are on board, this might be very helpful information to you when you start doing these kind of pool types. A type 3 conversion is a submission of the PN pool with a manual return of the CLC's position with the issuance of the permanent loan security position through the Fed. So that's the conventional method. That's the type 3 version. Next slide, please. And then some of the requirement that you have for the type 3 here. When must an issuer submit a type 3 conversion? If there isn't a final draw, if the issuer advance or funds or minimum security amount $1,000, if the final draw is, I think that's a greater than sign, the scheduled principal collected and loan comments amortization. Issuers cannot request a type 3 conversion withdraw issuance in the same month. Well, for example, if you issue the last draw in April, you are to convert in May, not April. It's the same thing if you issue the last pool in July, you cannot issue the conversion in the same month. So you just want to make sure you do that. Issuer cannot request a type 3 conversion withdraw issuance in the same month. And while I'm going through these slides, if Jenny May want to jump in, just feel free to jump in. So just to make sure I'm on the right path and I'm giving the good information. Yes.
This is Sylvia. I just want to confirm the 2 points about the minimum security and the final draw. So are you saying that it's if the issuer advances or if the issuer advances or funds are less than the minimum security amount, which is $1,000, and if the final draw is less than the scheduled principal collected and loan commenced
yes, those are the two.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, it's less than. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hey, Wade, we do have a question from Joseph in the chat. Joseph would like to ask, what are CLCs?
Yeah, I see that, Joseph. Joseph, can you give me a little bit to answer that question for you? I see that, James. Thank you. Joseph, we have your back. Okay, sir. Next slide, please. Type 5 conversion, that's the modernized type. That's the one we started doing some years ago. What is a type 5 conversion? A type 5 conversion is when the final draw and the PN conversion are submitted together for issuance. The final CLCs is delivered for settlement, and 3 business days after the CLCs is automatically canceled when the PN is delivered through the Federal Reserve Bank for New York. Whoever holds or owns all the CLCs must return the position to the Fed for cancellation so the project loan position can be issued and delivered. So that's the big difference there for the type 5. It's when you have the final draw, the PN conversion are submitted together. So you're going to submit the last piece of that CL and the PN piece. The final CLC is delivered for settlement 3 days after the CLC is automatically canceled when the PN is delivered through the Federal Reserve Bank for settlement. Next slide, please. Type 5 conversion step. These are some of the steps that you might need to take in your office, or maybe these are steps that you have already taken in your office to get this done for type 5. Issuer contacts BNY Mellon to obtain investor of records for CL pools. Most of the time, an email is sent to our jenny1@bnymellon.com box with attention Yvonne Mona to get you that information. BNY Mellon contacts the Fed for dealer/investor details, forward information to the issuer. Final draw/PN conversion type 5 submission is received by BNY Mellon. BNY Mellon contact Fed to send a second broadcast message to dealers/investors regarding the conversion. And the CL PN conversion approved for issuance and settlements. So these are the 5 steps that happen. I know I've seen these requests sometime. Can I obtain the investor of record information? And they would come into Yvonne Mona sometime, but she might send it directly to her email. but some of them do come into the GenMay1 at BNY Mellon help email address, and then we'll pass it on to Mona like that. Next slide. Multifamily changes and conversions, modification. These are some of the things for modification you must make sure you do. Must contact Jenny Mae. The investor, you should get their approval for the investor. Their approval is required if you're going to do a modification. Must be a manual pool submission. So that's one of the difference. Right now we're going to divert a little bit from MFPDM and GennyNet if you have to do some modification, because sometimes some of these changes are not currently in how the system performs. So it might have to be a manual pool. So you might hear Janet Kerr say, yeah, this pool have to be done manually. You have to get that old 11706, fill it out, 11705, fill it out, all in necessary documentation, and send those into us in a manual form. So you must contact Jenny Mae. They must be aware of that. Know your AE and tell them what your intention, so they can advise the best way possible. The investor should approve is required, and must be a manual pool submission if you have to do the modification. Next slide, please. Thank you very much, Justin Birch, for giving Joseph the answer. Construction loan certificate, CLCs. Justin Birch is my man. Thank you very much, sir. Increase/decrease mortgage amount. And again, contact BNY Mellon for system parameters. Can be done through MFPDM or GennyNet for most submissions. And again, we said most because sometimes these pools come up with some little intricate pieces that it might not be able to go through GennyNet or MFPDM. So we just want to make sure construction loan pools in GennyNet must remain in GennyNet. HUD's approval for mortgage increase/decrease is required. Investor acknowledgement may be required also. So just some of those things, if you're doing an increase or a decrease of the mortgage amount, you want to contact BNY Mellon to see if if this is going to work. Most of them should be able to be done through GennyNet and MFPDM. And you may also want to get your HUD's approval for the mortgage, or the increase or the decrease is also required. And you want to make sure you check out your user manual. Again, we have these resources on these slides just to help you. We have the MFPDM guide. If you are a first-time user, that's the guide for you. If you're old school GennyNet user, we still have that user manual that's out there with the GennyNet process. Next slide. Okay, we do have a poll. And just a quick little poll of some of the stuff that we did on those previous slides. There are 4 ways to submit a multifamily conversion. Nobody's not challenging that today. Nobody's not putting through the word true. Mary, I see your falls. Anita, I see your falls on the chat. Appreciate that. And of course, the answer there is it's false. There's not 4 ways to submit a multifamily conversion at all. There's actually 2 right now. So thank you for your answers for that question. Now let's move to the second question, please. Type 3 conversion is known as the draw method, the conventional method, or the modernized method. Darn, I wish I was getting these questions in school to move to a different level. Wow. Anita and Mary, I see your answer in the chat again. Joseph, thank you, sir. Yes, that's the answer. It's the conventional method. That's what a type 3 is. Type 3. We had one of the slides that actually talks about that. Thank you very much for your response. Let's go to question 3. This one I almost just left, almost was on the last slide. For an increase/decrease mortgage amount, HUD's approval for this mortgage increase amount is required. These are some easy stuff. Okay, true. Anita, Angela, Joseph, Mary, thank you for your answer on the chat. And one person disagreed with us, say false. So according to the document, what we had shown on the screen, the answer is actually true. So Maribel, is that it, or there's a fourth question? I think that might be the poll itself there.
That's it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask. I don't know. I'm gonna ask, and that's up to you, Michelle, Jennifer. Do you want to say anything on type 3 or type 5 conversion before we move on? And something that you don't think we had covered in those slides, you want to mention to the audience?
Good morning, Wade. Good morning, everyone. It's Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
I want to maybe
you can.
Okay, I wanted to turn the volume up. Just a couple of feedback on this is, yes, when we say approval for, okay. I was looking at Joe's. Oh, okay, good. When we say approval for a mortgage increase or decrease, we're really, first of all, the approval from HUD can be in an email, but also most likely we're looking for the final endorsement, the note. They have to endorse that note at a higher or lower amount. So we definitely would need that. In reference to the first slide, if you can go back, Maribel, can we go back to the slide that discusses modifications and conversions? We would say the first step is to please try to submit all conversions in the system, whether it is GennyNet system or MFPDM. And then if it does not work, it probably is a manual pull, but try to submit it. Right. Try to submit it. Call the BNY Mellon help desk. And then, so some of, depending on what is modified or what you're calling modified versus what we're calling modified, it can go through the system, can be a system conversion. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that. I don't want you to go directly to a manual pull, but please remember that there is a possibility that it is a manual pull. So you, again, like we discussed on Wednesday, that you have to look at the pull date calendar, especially for conversions. We do have kind of it's like 6 days really, because
Yes.
day one is like mailroom. So please look at the pool dates calendar to make sure that you're not submitting a conversion too late. And that's type 5 conversion. That's going to be 5 to 6 days. You have a little bit more wiggle room with the type 3 conversion. But just make sure you still have enough time for the type 3 conversion. Some other thoughts, and again, this is just off the top of my head. I don't have any notes or anything. Some
appreciate the knowledge, Michelle. So no problem.
Some of the issues that have come up recently on the type 3 conversion is, remember, a type 3 conversion is the conventional way, it's the old way. So you have the investor has to return 100% of the outstanding positions for the CLCs. So if you have a type 3 conversion, but you're usually converting pools by type 5, you really need to reach out to your investor or whoever holds those positions to make sure that they are returning those positions on that construction loan, because we cannot release the PLC, the permanent loan certificate, until we have the positions for all of the CLCs. And we do have time constraints because we working with the Fed, we cannot release positions after like 2:30 in the afternoon. So if we can get the positions on the CLCs returned earlier in the day so that we can release the PLC. So those are some quirks that we have to work out with that. Oh, okay. The next thing that I would say is that when we have a type 3 conversion, please remember that a lot of times people will look at it on, people use our disclosure databases, the multifamily database. On a type 5 conversion, you will see once the pool is finally certified and then it's released, that both pools will show up at the same time. So you will get the QSIP for both pools. However, when you have a type 3 conversion, the PN pool will not show up until to you and to me, really, until the next day. So that QSIP is coming a day late. And so please be careful, especially if you're doing a type 3 conversion on the last business day, because then that QSIP will not appear to you until late. And I do know that many people need that information to log the new pools into their systems to set up for reporting for the first and second day. And I'm going to stop there.
Are you sure, Michelle? We were enjoying all that knowledge. No more knowledge to throw on the crowd.
So, okay, Leslie, I'm reading your question. Do they send out I think they still do send out the blast. I would have to double check with Don Mona. They still send out the blast for type 3 and type 5, but a lot of times we just have, whether it's not really new investors, or probably, well, yeah, I was going to say new investors, or investors who are just used to doing a type 5 where it's just deleted off the system, where recently we've had investors say, oh, I didn't know I had to push back the positions. I had no clue that I needed to return the position. And that's delayed the type 3 conversions. So it's always good to just double check. Justin, you're typing? Any other questions? You can type it. You can ask me any and all questions.
Is there any system that we can access to determine holder of the CLCs?
No, that's because that comes off the Fed system. Justin.
Fed system, yes.
Being an ex-Ginnie Mae employee, I don't have access to that system. So it's not just the issuers or the lenders Ginnie Mae proper does not have access to the system. That is the Federal Reserve System. And unfortunately, we're talking about two different agencies. And that's part of the reason why you guys may have trouble with the EINs, because that's Treasury. And
Yeah.
the Federal Reserve is Treasury also. So unfortunately, but we'll take it back and look, but I don't think the Fed is going to give Ginnie Mae employees access. So I'm not sure if they're going to make it public. So unfortunately, that may be a large hill to climb. Any other questions? Yes, that is true. It isn't. Thank you for reiterating that. Yes, it is an act of security, so it can be bought and sold, to another investor. But these multifamily pools, please remember that many times, even on construction loans, they're contracted investors, and each CLC. Remember, a CLC is, to you guys, it's just a securitized draw, right? So each, on a construction loan, you have a draw each month. It's securitized. That's a CLC to us. That each month, that is an act of security that can be bought and sold on the market. And each month, there's an act of security that can be placed in a REMIC, and a draw that you did in July may be in one REMIC, and the draw that you did in August may be in a totally different REMIC. I thought I saw somebody else writing or speaking. Oh, Leslie.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to type my question, but didn't know if I'd explain it right. I'm about to have to do a type 3 conversion for the first time, and there is a draw amount. We're going to have a final draw, but I saw that if the final draw is less than what we're holding for principal, because it started amortizing a while ago, there's been some issues with getting to final endorsement. So we're holding more in principal than the final draw will be.
Uh-huh.
How does it work with the type 3 when there is a final draw? How do you set up the final CL delivery and then also the PN conversion as a type 3?
Yes. So, yes, that would be a type 3. If your amortized principal is more than whatever your final CLC is, that would be a type 3 conversion. And Wade and his group will tell you how to do it. Is it on GennyNet? It's probably old. It's on GennyNet. I don't have access to GennyNet.
Yep,
but Wade and his group.
Leslie, if there's anything, just reach out to me and I can get either Erica or Sean on your case to help you walk you through the process. That's no problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. We're hoping to close the end of this month, so I'll reach out once I know for sure if we're going to get it closed and when I have to actually move forward with setting it up.
Okay.
Super.
Yes.
We'll try and get the try and help you on that. No
Thank
problem.
No problem. Just based on the pandemic, it slowed down construction. And so we have lots of pools that are have amortized principal, and they're converting. So yes. Any other questions, concerns right now? Okay, Wade. I think that's enough from me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor. We really appreciate it. This was good.
All right.
This was good. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure not only me for my knowledge, but I'm sure the participants also appreciate that. So thank you very much, Michelle.
Yes. Any and all suggestions for anything else, definitely just reach out to us. Myself, Jennifer, or Patrick.
Super.
Okay. But we're still here. We're still online. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for participating in the poll.
Hey,
As I said, this is usually yes.
Before we go on, are we going to have another poll today? I can't recall on this presentation. Will there
Maribel?
be additional polls?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a challenge with the poll. I'm not sure, and Ryan, maybe you can help with this too. Someone said he could select an option, but there was no submit button. Once you select the option, Ryan, does it just automatically submit, or
That is correct. There is no submit button. You just select the choice, and then that becomes your option. It submits it all in one.
Okay, so that should clear that up. So if anyone to submit or a response to the poll and was looking for a submit button, as long as you clicked on the button, that submitted your answer. And so, yeah, that clears it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That was all, Wade. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Maribel, can we go to the next slide, please? Document custodian transfer requests. I don't know if the multifamily group is caught up in this, but you know that big thing that's going on now because of BNY Mellon getting out of the custodial business. Everybody who had their documents at BNY Mellon are doing these transfers. Some of them are done right. Some of them are done incorrectly. So we just wanted to make that a part of our focus today, and just give you an idea what the process is and the types of transfers that are out there. So we're just gonna talk a little about document custodian transfers. Next slide, please, Maribel. Okay, first we want to talk about the types of transfers, the overview of the document custodian transfer, the request process, and just some quick tips. And just to let you know, all document custodian transfers right now, up to now, are supposed to be performed in GennyNet. It's not on the MFPDM space yet, so everything is still done in legacy GennyNet. Next slide. We want to talk about the different types of transfers. All document custodian transfers are submitted via GennyNet. Wade, you just said that. 4 types of document custodian transfer requests. You have the complete document custodian transfer. You have the partial document custodian transfer. You have the complete document custodian merger. And you have the partial document custodian merger. Now, complete and partial transfer requests. Certification of transfer pools are due 12 months of the effective date of transfer. So just remember that. Certification of those transfer pools are due 12 months of the effective date of transfer if you did a complete or a partial transfer request. Complete and partial merger requests do not require a new recertification of the effective pools. The status of the pool, the pre-merger, will remain the same. And just one important thing we want you to remember, once the issuer submit the transfer request, the new document custodian must certify the pending transfer request prior to the specified effective transfer date. Very, very important. I noticed over the period of time, even though over the last year since it's been such a big deal now, users or issuers will go in and set up their transfer, document custodian transfer. They'll put in a date, and somehow they did not tell. The notice went over to the custodian, but the custodian did not do it. Maybe they were busy doing other things. Then they realized that they have a document custodian transfer here, but guess what? Their transfer date, I'm just going to put in a date, was the 15th. And they went in today, the 16th, and go in and certify that transaction. What happens? The transaction is going to go through. It didn't stop him. But what happened when it comes onto the mainframe, GenMaid's backend system, to go through doing that check on their due diligence, it's going to kick out that transfer, say that the transfer date has passed. So it's very important when you're planning these transfer, document custodian transfer, your custodian knows what the date of transfer is. And I do understand certain part of it, because maybe the new custodian, they're not going to certify just on a pool list. They maybe want to see all the documentation there in their shop, and that's when they'll make their decision to actually certify the information that's coming through GennyNet. So that's some outside arrangement between you and your document custodian. You want to arrange that so whatever date you put in there as a date of transfer, they are able to meet that, because if they certify after, when it comes on GenMaid's back end for check-in, if it's passed, it's going to be rejected, and you'd have to ask to do that transfer over again just by going and edit the data, put in a new date, and send it off to your custodian. So just pay close attention to that. Next slide, please. And this is, if you're familiar with this, maybe half of you might not even do this, but just to tell you where the document custodian transfer is actually done, not on new pools, it's done on the module certification. And this is just what the screen looks like, where it says doc custodian transfer after you have done everything and you're getting ready to submit. It comes up like that. It goes through the same process, goes through generating an FTN, goes through using your RSA token, goes through using the 4-digit PIN, issue the 6-digit code passcode to actually do the submission. So this is, we're just showing you what the screen looks like when you're actually going into certification communication to do your submission there. Next slide. And I think here we just add just a quick little demo. It's just of what it actually looks like. So I think this is one that I have to do a quick little voiceover on. So let's see what we can do. Okay, of course, you go into My GenMA. You're going to choose the other application, GenNet. Once you go into GenNet, no more user password. You're going to go to data entry. On the data entry, make sure you have certification on your menu. We're going to go down and choose common. On the common, we're going to choose document custodian transfer. I think we're going to show just the simplest kind one, which is when I click on new, we have the 4 there. We're going to choose complete transfer. You want to put in a new custodian. That's who's going to actually get the documentation. And we're going to put in your date of transfer. Of course, we have a date 5 there. Don't worry about that date. You just want to make sure that date is at least 3 days from the day you're doing the transaction here. Put in one of the regulatory authority and your consideration. You know, sometime on the back of that 11.7.15, on the 14, section 14, there's a consideration there. You want to select your previous custodian. That's who that are the pools you're going to transfer. And you're going to add the pools. You have 2 options. You can actually import. So if you have your file ready, you just import. And the file just consists of your pool numbers, not the issue type or pool type. Once you find that file, you're bringing it, import it in. Once it imports successfully, you save. And then once that information is in, the status is new, you're going to go to host communications. We're going to choose certification communications. And there we're going to select, we're going to see the transaction that was done. We're going to select and bring it over on the other side. We're going to click on OK. And once that's done, we're going to click on Submit at the bottom there. Information shows up there. And then we proceed through the RSA. We're going to validate who you are with your MyGenMA user ID, your password for that ID. Click on OK. And once you click on OK there, what happens? It goes through the RSA token and submit the pool to the custodian. The custodian does get a notification, just to let you know there. A notification does go over to the custodian saying there's a document custodian transfer process for you to look at. But and the way it should be done at this point, the custodian should have had the documentation, because that's what they're actually certifying, that I'm getting these documents now. The pool listing that came in the certification match the documentation I get. I can go in and do my certification. So the change is going to happen. If you put the 20th, when the pools come on GenMA system, the night of the 20th or the morning of the 20th, those pools are going to now reflect the new custodian on GenMA system. Next slide, please. Okay, just some quick tips for document custodian transfer. For complete document custodian transfer or merger, the issuer is required to submit a complete pool list. For partial document custodian transfer or merger, the issuer is required to submit a complete list of the pool being transferred, as well as the pool list for existing document custodian. And that one is where a lot of users usually get confused, especially if they're doing a partial. Because you're saying, I am sending just these 10 pools to new custodian 000412. But I have more pools with 2 other custodians. So GenMay is saying, show us the 10 pools you're sending to the new custodian, but also list the pools that you currently have with those existing custodian. That's the process, and that's where a lot of people get confused. Surprisingly, they even get confused when they're doing document custodian transfer. I mean, the complete, because confused meaning you wanted to do a partial, you end up doing a complete. What happens if you have 1,000 pool on the custodian 222 and you did a complete and you send it to custodian 333? Yeah, all of those pools on GenMay's system on the back end is going to reflect that custodian 333. And sometimes we do find out late, the issuer would find out late that that's not what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to do a partial. So that becomes a fix. We have to end up fixing that behind the scenes, because sometimes the issuers have certain deadlines to meet, and they don't. So per GenMay, they'll give us an authorization to make the change behind the scenes. So most of the time we try to avoid those, because it's not a 1, 2, 3 thing. We have to go and get authorization. It's the only authorization right now we're not getting for these changes is just the President of the United States. So we have to get a lot of authorization to make these changes. So just be careful. If you're not sure, I always say call a help desk. The help desk is never going to tell you what you should do. We're going to ask you what is your purpose, and then we're going to try and guide you. But we don't want to be the one who tell you, oh, this sounds like a partial. We want you to come to us confident enough that this is what I want to do. And then if that's a partial, then we can walk you through that process. The issuer, Beth, where do you list the pools remaining with the existing document custodian transfer? Okay, as part of the process, when you're doing that, Beth, you have to actually, if you can actually import those pools, or you can actually manually enter them. So once you do a partial, it's going to ask you for the existing, you put in the new, and at the bottom it asks for the existing custodian. You select your custodian number, and once that number is selected, you can actually do an import with your new pool, with the pools you want to stay under that existing custodian, or you can do an import file, or you can manually enter them. If you have 2, you do the same thing for another existing custodian with that number and the pool listing. When you print that 11715 on the report, you'll see the pools that are going to the new custodian and the pools that are remaining with the existing custodian. So you want to also print that 11715 form that's generated on the reports with that. So you have to list all of them per GenMay. I'm sure a lot of times I've heard it from the users, I've heard it from the AEs, that the way it's done right now, it's a little bit confusing, a little bit cumbersome. And I have my hands up. I totally agree. This has been so long ago that it was put in this way, and we have not actually looked at reshaping it, changing it. And I'm sure when this system goes into the MFPDM space or my GenMay space, I'm sure we're going to look at ways to actually streamline it and make it a little bit user friendly. So I know that's on GenMay's mind, that's on our mind, and also that's on the user's mind. If a pool is transferred with a final certification pending, when the new issuer completes the pending final certs, that certification will close out both the final certs and the pending recerts from the recent transfer. Just keep that in mind. If a pool is transferred with a final certification pending, when the new issuer completes the pending final certification, that certification will close out both. It will close out for the final certs, and it's also close out the pending recertification from the recent transfer. An e-notification of approval or rejection is sent to the issuer and new document custodian. So that is sent out there. Pool listing may be imported or key entered directly into GeniNet. And we have the GeniNet user guide and the section that deals with document custodian transfer so that you can look at. And this has always been a hot topic, especially for the last 2 months, last 18 months since that stuff with BNY Mellon. So we get a lot of calls with this, and people are never too sure what to do, but we try and see if we can walk them through the process. And I said it's a little bit tedious, but we try and tell them this is how it's done, and most of them tend to get it and actually get it right. Next slide, please. Oh, poll. And it's not even election time yet, and we're acting so much polls. Okay, let's do another poll. Just want to keep everybody alive and well and make sure everybody is in tune. Complete and partial mergers requests. Do not request a new recertification of the affected pools. The status of the pools pre-merger will remain the same. Okay, this is a tug and war going on with those 3 people who have falls. So it looks like 3 people are not convinced. The actual answer is it's true. They do not need a new recertification. And just to let you, for anything for complete and partial merger must have to be approved by Ginnie Mae. And the way it works in the GeniNet system space, you submit, the custodian certifies, and another approval goes to Ginnie Mae to sign off on that approval within the system. So for mergers and partial mergers, it's not only you and the custodian. Ginnie Mae gets involved in that piece too, and they have to go into their system and do the approval and they have to do the approval before the date of transfer. So thank you for your answers for this. Next question, Maribel. How many types of document custodian transfer requests are available? We have 6, we have 3, we have 4, and I just don't want to vote. Remember, we mentioned that up front when we were talking about the different types of transfers, and how many types of document custodian transfer requests are available? Okay, since I don't think are we gonna convince those 5 people? I wonder if they believe their answer is correct. Not, it's your conviction, it's your vote. But initially when we started this process, there's a number, there's the amount of transfer, document custodian transfer requests that I had mentioned. And the answer is actually 4. I'd mentioned complete transfer, partial transfer, complete merger, and partial merger. So those were the 4. So 96% got that. I'm still trying to convince one person that the answer is actually 4. Yes, so the answer for that one is 4. Next question, please. Currently, all document custodian transfer or mergers are processed via IPMS, MFPDM, GennyNet. What are the answers for that? Currently, all document custodian transfers and mergers are processed via IPMS, MFPDM, GennyNet. I see Mary, Anita, Pam, Angela answer. Appreciate it in the chat. And I think one person is seeing the future, and I'm sure in the future everything is might be processed on somewhere in the MyGenMA space, and it could be non-MFPDM. But currently, thank you for changing. So currently, GenMA have all of those processes, all of the document custodian transfers are done currently in GennyNet. So it still have to be done in GennyNet. You still have to have that module called certification, because that's where you do the document custodian transfer and all your recertification, if that applies to you. So everything is done in GennyNet at the moment. I'm sure once GennyNet goes in the sunrise, they'll have the latest version to start doing document custodian transfer. So thank you very much for participating in the poll. Really appreciate that. Next slide, please. Q&A. Are there any questions? Anything that we talked about today? Anything on document custodian? Anything we talked about on Monday? Anything we talked about on Wednesday that you want to bring up? Just for me to say some things in reference to this. Remember, we're now processing via MyGenMA. Everybody logs in through MyGenMA with their user ID, which is your email address and that password. And of course, you have to remember, once you get into the program, you're going to need that OTP. It's very important. I don't know, most people, are you doing your OTP via your phone, or you're doing your OTP via the email in your office? You have 2 options. So whichever works best for you. You can get it on your phone. It's find it to be much faster when the OTP, when it's set up through on your phone, other than waiting for the OTP to come through your email address. We talked about commitment authority. We talk about how to get your new pools. Make sure you get your MAMS documents in order. Just want to remember, come October 1st again, MAMS renewal start. You just want to get on that as fast and early as possible, so it works best for you. And don't wait until December 28th or the 31st, because that's usually a killer. Most people are either out, and you're not going to get the appropriate people to actually do the sign-in. So make sure you check your RSA token. Sometimes some tokens are getting ready to expire. Make sure you check that. And if you realize your expiration date is coming up soon, by no means hurry up and reach out to the hotline and tell them that, are you going to be sending a new token to me because my token expires in the next month? I know they're doing that right now, checking on some of them. So just want to let you know. Okay, Leslie, my My email now is, guess what? It's now on eBay, so I have to start charging for it. But I'm going to give it to you again.
Maribel was 3 steps ahead of you, Wade.
I
on the
know. I
resource.
know she. I remember that we put this in there. So thank you for going there, Maribel. So these are some of the numbers that we just decided we would put on just for you guys who have the GenMay customer support group, the 1-833-466-2435. And most likely we should have actually add option 1 there so you can get into the group. And the email address is jennymay1@bnymellon.com. That's where you send your any questions or concerns you have. And that's my email address, wade.gale@bnymellon.com. And then we also provide your account executive and their email address. So if you need to reach out on them too, we have for Patrick, we have for Jennifer, and we have for Michelle. Michelle is one of those people who have a couple names. So those are that's the information there for you. Anita, on the back of the token, there's usually an expiration date. The token itself, the information on the back is so small in terms of the serial information, serial number stuff there. If you can send a notification to our GenMay 1 mailbox, and I can get you to the group in Syracuse who can handle that for you. But you usually find an expiration date on the back of that RSA file, but sometimes it's the information around there is so small, but you can check that. If you don't see it, you can always send your RSA token serial number in to us via email, and then Katie's group in the Syracuse area can actually do the check for you, Anita. Okay, is there anything else, anything you want to talk about? You want to make sure? Of course, I'm sure Sylvia is going to have a survey, and we always say, did this training meet your expectation? Maybe there's something else you want to see, so you can share that with GenMay. So for our next session, either virtual or in person, we can make sure we have that in the setup. Again, manuals, QRC, FAQs. We have the quick reference card for your RSA token. We have the MFPDM guide, and we have the GenNet import file layout if you ever need that, the multifamily group. So if you want to do import, we have that for you. Maribel, is that the last slide, 24?
Yes, Wade.
Okay, it seemed like that is my time. Is there anything else linked to this session? I think Sylvia will have this. Sylvia, when will this be available?
I am holding everyone hostage for the survey. And while you're completing our survey, I will place the link to this and all of our sessions for the week. But no, seriously, I will be placing those links in the session. I was waiting for Wade to complete his facilitation. Wade, do you have any additional?
I just want to say, I want to thank you. Thank you for putting up with me for the 3 days. I know sometimes I can go off script, or it might be a little bit quirky in terms of the presentation, but I hope you were able to follow through. I hope you were able to listen and understand the flow of the process. And of course, we enlighten you a little bit in terms of giving you some knowledge in terms of how to process using GenNet and in the MFPDM and GenNet and multifamily space. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your weekend.